Remember the hit horror flick, The Blair Witch Project? The film was about 3 student filmmakers who disappeared in the woods of Maryland while shooting a documentary. It was staged, but made to look frighteningly real. Well, a similar amateur film has landed a group of filmmaking friends in jail. The group, they're charged with kidnapping a 19-year-old Michigan woman, tying her up, and then staging her burial. Prosecutors call it abuse, saying it was all too real for the victim, who didn't know it was a prank until later. Joining us in Michigan, Dan Ambrose, an attorney for one of the accused. Dan, what was your client thinking?
They were thinking that they were making a movie, and the more real the movie is, the better a movie it is.
Dan, the woman reports, I don't know if it's true, but she reports that she was literally kidnapped, bound, gagged, put in a car, dragged off someplace, and nearly buried alive. That doesn't sound much like filmmaking to me. That sounds, frankly, like a crime.
Well, Greta, that's only if she didn't know. But if she did know, then it's a film. And if you look at the tape closely, you can see initially when she's bound, especially when they tie her legs together, that she holds her legs neatly together so that one young man can tie him. And then it's that point that they tell her to, resist more, because this isn't really making the movie look real if she doesn't resist at all. But if you watch the entire movie, she doesn't ask them to let her go because she knows that they will let her go, because this is sort of a hazing process in this group. And if they let her go, then she can't be part of the group.
Indeed. If it's against her will, it's a crime. If she was a participant, it is not a crime at all. Now, did your client know this woman before this filmmaking experience?
Well, they knew her from high school, but they weren't really friends with her. She had a crush on one of the kids involved, Travis, and she even admits that in the video when they first get into the car. And after the whole movie was done, if you look at the end of the movie, she pretends to die, and then she takes part in the credits afterwards, and then she goes back to their house and parties with them. And then she never even goes to the police. The police don't find out about this until 2 days later.
What was her motive 2 days later? How did the police find out about it? Was it a parent that reported it, or did she suddenly show up at the hospital with injury? What was the motivating factor?
Well, she went to her doctor. It was a pre-scheduled doctor's appointment, and he noticed a bruise on her wrist and asked her what had happened, and she started telling the story, and then he reacted and said, "Wow, you should call the police. Let me call the police for you." And the police were called, and then the story just built from there and got a life of its own.
What I'm unclear about, Dan, is how did they pick her? I mean, I realize that she might have had a passing knowledge of them, but why did they pick her that night?
Well, all the other girls that hung out with this group at this house had been through a similar experience, and nobody ever got hurt, and she didn't get hurt at all. And she wanted to be part of the group, and it was her turn for this hazing ritual.
Prior to the night that this hazing ritual, as you describe it, filmmaking, she claims it a crime, whatever we want to call it, when had your client seen her before? I mean, how close were they?
She was over the night before. She was starting to hang out at this house because this was a group of young people that 2 of them had rented a house, and, the rest of them lived with their parents, and this was a place to hang out.
What kind of family did your client grow up in?
Well, he lives with his father. His parents are divorced, and other than that, he has brothers and sisters. It's a, average American family.
Has he ever been in trouble before?
I think he has a minor in possession charge from before, but no, he has no adult criminal record.
And so when's his trial date, and how many years is he now facing?
His preliminary we haven't had a preliminary examination yet. The preliminary examination is scheduled for May 10th, and if he's convicted, he has to serve a minimum of 9 to 15 years to life.
All right, Dan Ambrose will be watching this case to see whether it's a crime or whether she's part of a filmmaking and now has turned vengeful to him.